On the other hand, why do you think people fucking hate horror so much and treat it like dookie doo-doo?
This asshole stop honking his horn repeatedly. Like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, I actually did hear that. Normally I can't hear it through the
No, it's like he's doing it over and over again.
Want to go outside and commit a
I don't know. Should we
not
pause for a
illegal
second?
act?
This is really bad. It's not a car alarm. It's someone
because it's not like rhythmic.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's
This is gonna be a lot of editing on this episode. So, yeah. Why do people, especially highbrow critics, and we've known some personally, what makes them fucking despise horror so damn much?
It's a good question, but I think it really narrows down to just the fact that they perceive it as like taboo for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, I guess, just because of its racy, in their minds, their racy nature, where it's like, the gore and the blood, and oh my god, it's
heinous.
Yeah, but it's like, why? Why do you think that? Like, what? Just because it has those things, why is it automatically like of lesser quality?
Well, and I see it as like a hypocritical thing, because like those same people would be like, just because it's in the canon now, and they're like, oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a masterpiece, and John Carpenter's Halloween is a masterpiece, and The Thing is a masterpiece, even if like the critical response to those things was not at all the same at that time.
Yeah, so people hated The Thing.
Yeah, it had like Siskel and Ebert like just destroyed it, and it had like, I think it still has like a really low Rotten Tomatoes score or something. It's insane.
Oh yeah. No, I think the aura around horror has, to a degree, become less negative, because like back then it was like, if you're in that genre and you're not trying to like do something really like artsy and whatever with it, you just got ripped apart, like no matter what. While there are more critics out there now who can, appreciate like a slasher movie or whatever, but there's still like a pretty significant layer of just like, this doesn't have true artistic value. I guess because of the fact that it's just supposed to create like immediate reactions, and it isn't supposed, like, I mean, of course there are horror movies that do this, but it, like, horror in general is not just designed for like, this, like deep emotional impacts.
This movie made me cry or whatever.
Yeah, there are plenty of horror films that can do that, because it's a very diverse genre, like you were talking about, Dylan. But it's just, the general idea behind a horror movie is just immediate reactions and aesthetic, the ability to look at the aesthetic and like feel the nature of the era of horror movies. Like they're more distinct in terms of aesthetic than like almost anything else. A 70s drama, like the straight drama, and 80s straight drama don't look that different, but a 1973 horror movie and like a 1988 horror movie have like nothing in common.
Yeah, they look entirely different. And so the response to tying it between like drama and stuff is something that we've always talked about since we've known each other, is how the critical response to a movie changes when they, like, if critics like a horror movie, it's not horror, it's like a
thriller,
psychological thriller or a supernatural thriller, and for some reason that is more prestigious, and that pisses me off.
Oh yeah, no, it's a weird terminology shift that always happens so that you can like try to strip away something's like connections and origins to be like, oh no, this isn't one of those things. It's very similar to in the comic book industry, where something will be called a graphic novel if it has like any pretensions towards adults at all, even if it was something that was released in a monthly format. Because that's all a graphic novel is supposed to be, is like, oh, this was released in a book-like format, like originally. But stuff that came out, on a normal comic book schedule and was written by the same guys who write the funny books, if it was good, suddenly it's a graphic novel.
Like mental dissonance that you have from like, oh, horror is trash. Oh, it's not horror. And then critics just get to say that. I mean, that happened with Hereditary, because that actually fucking got some amount of Oscar attention. The Lighthouse. Pretty much A24 horror movies have been pretty, heavily that now.
Actually, good critic response.
Good critic response. It's a thriller. And it's just hard to think of something that has been around and for forever and is such a strong part of every culture. But I mean, mainly like the horror aesthetics we think of spring from like old Europe and like goth aesthetics, and that's just been around for so damn long, and it's hard to understand why it's
people
still
alienate
a taboo.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, like including back before the invention of movies, horror was thought to be like, tawdry and like not meant for normal people, but it was also the entertainment of the masses. Like that's where like penny dreadfuls and stuff come from, where it's these books are really cheap and they're written by like unacclaimed authors and they're short, but they make you feel things and they're fun, so people read them and they were popular. And the same thing happens with movies, where a lot of the earliest popular movies are like, horror movies in the silent era. And then
it's what made Universal, like it was a failing company, and then they came out with Dracula and Frankenstein, and then now they're one of the longest lasting studios out there.
Yeah, and they're still riding the wave of horror super significantly with their deals with like Blumhouse and stuff.
Oh yeah, Blumhouse. It's insane. Well, do you think that like some of it is because it is for the people and critics like hold themselves above the commoners?
Yeah, I think that is probably an aspect of it.
Yeah, I feel like that is an aspect.
Yeah, tend to believe that their opinion is somehow like, more intellectual than that of just the everyday moviegoer. Which, to be fair, they're
probably more informed, but that doesn't necessarily mean people liking things are stupid,
Yeah. Yes.
But I think it can't just be that, because, like Marvel movies get like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. Even
that is
true.
Not
very good.
Those are big, just popcorn munching, general masses movies.
I think it's like at least like a lot of it is the combination of it being like a popular art form and something you can make cheaply and with like not a lot of people. So like on both, it's a common art on both ends, because the filmmakers don't have to have a crew of 2,000 people and all that stuff. Like there are high quality horror movies like Phantasm and stuff that were almost entirely made by like a couple guys. And, you don't really get that with other genres. And that plus the grotesquerie and that kind of thing that people who think of themselves as being above just cannot deal with. I think all of it together.
To me, the what you just mentioned, like the small crew aspect, and the fact there's only a couple people behind the creation of these things, is like, to me that should make it like more artistic, right? Because if you have so many goddamn people working on a film, at what point does it just become kind of like, like the vision is lost and it's muddled because there's so many different hands working on it? Yeah,
no, and you're right. And they actually do treat movies like that if it's a French art movie about lesbianism or whatever. Like, I think it's a combination of the elements that just makes it so that people react poorly.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with those things.
Oh, no. There's nothing. I didn't mean it like that.
No, I just
great movies.
Clarifying.
Like
do you think that part of why critics hate horror is that a lot of bad ones have made a lot of money and been raucous successes?
Perhaps. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think it's a good reason. I'm just...
Yeah. No, I mean, and the thing about it is I think we all just kind of struggle to understand why the hell they're frowned upon, like, among critics.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah.
We've gone through a lot of reasoning here, but the thing that keeps happening with pretty much all of it is like, well, there's this reasoning, but they like these things with that, and so on. But I think it's just a weird combination of elements that's just, and like the history of the genre and all that, it just all comes together.
That's a neat little button on the end of that.